And thank you all for coming virtually to Wayne State. I am a recruiter here at Wayne State. As Amber mentioned, my name is Chantel Caven, and I'm also an MBA student. So I have two concentrations, one in management and the other in information systems management. So as we're doing this presentation, if you have questions about those, you could definitely ask that. I just want to give you kind of a quick overview of our little itinerary for today. Oh, you know what? Let me share my screen with you guys. That's important. You want to see that. All right, here we go. Everyone see my screen okay? All right, so this is our little agenda for today. I want to talk about Wayne State as a whole, why you should think about Wayne State for your graduate education, talk about the admissions process and the money, and then open it up for questions that you all may have for me. So first, I want to just talk about Wayne State as a whole. As you all know, it's about 27,000 plus students. Of those students, about 8 to 9,000 of those are graduate students. We are in the wonderful city of Detroit and in Midtown, and there's so much great things going on in our area that I don't even have to tell you about all of those things. So I'm just going to move into our schools and colleges. So we have over a dozen schools and colleges here, including the med school and the law school. Our schools and colleges are, of course, high STEM and demand to the humanities, performing arts. But for the graduate school, we have over 200 programs for you guys to make a selection. So you can earn a graduate certificate, which is like 30 credits or less, or you can do a master's degree, which is about 32 to 36 credits, or a doctoral degree, which is about beyond 60 credits. So, why should you choose Wayne State University? I'm going to give you three reasons why you should think about Wayne State University for your graduate education. The first is research. We are a Carnegie R1 designated research institution, which essentially means we receive the highest level of research at our school. In other words, we get hundreds of millions of dollars to support research and do research. We're also a member of the URC, or the University Research Corridor, in which we partner with the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and Michigan State University. Our corridor is one of the top 10 research corridors in the nation. So just keep that in mind. That's another reason why you should think about Wayne State are the students. So you all, as you know, our institution is, let this do real quick, thanks. Our institution has one of the most diverse populations in the country. Um, but more importantly, our students are change agents. They want to serve and impact the community. And then lastly, our graduate school is about providing opportunity for all. So if you're interested in graduate school, we want to make sure that you actually have that access and that ability to attend graduate school. Another reason why you should consider Wayne State is the community impact. So, the work that you do as a graduate student can immediately influence the Detroit area, the city itself, the metro, and the world. And I'm going to present a few cases or a few examples of how that research will do that. The first being the one you see on our screen, which is our humanities clinic, in which our students work with nonprofits or public sector institutions and help use our research expertise to help those particular businesses or entities. The second is our Healthy Urban Waters program. If you recall the Flint water crisis a few years ago, urban water has become a very, very important thing to study. And so we wanted to be on the forefront of that. And we have our HUW program. Another is we're doing research to reduce barriers to the access of the arts for young people and all, including the surrounding community. We're very fortunate to have access to the DIA, the Charles Wright galleries, etc. And we know, and the research shows the impact that the arts make and have on young people. So we want to make sure that they have that access. Now I want to talk a little bit about the admissions process. So, since we're a school for all, we're going to do a holistic review of your application. So, we're not just looking at your GPA, though it's important. That's not the only thing that we're considering. We're also looking at those other nuances like your persistence, your resilience, your excellence. Overall, we're trying to determine, can you be successful here as a graduate student? And do we have the resources to support your success? So, those are the things that we're looking at in the application process. The things that are required, of course, there's always a checklist of items that you need to submit for your application. So we're going to look at, do you have a bachelor's degree? There is a minimum GPA for the graduate school, which is a 2.75. However, as I mentioned, we're looking at your whole application. So let's say you may be less than that. You may have work experience that may compensate for your GPA or just different things. So just keep that in mind. Don't let that be a barrier on why you shouldn't apply. We also are looking at your official transcripts and then also your English proficiency. So those requirements right there are the things that are required by the graduate school. The second or latter part of this checklist are the things that are required by the schools or colleges. So they may also ask for letters of recommendation or a test score, so a GMAT, GRE. A lot of our schools and colleges are right now becoming test optional, so it may not be a requirement, but some schools still need that right now. And then there's the deadline. So every application has a deadline. So some of them may vary, but I'm going to provide you with some overall deadlines. So these are the ones you're going to see on our website. So if you're looking at the fall of 2022, we say have your application in by June 1st or 2021, I'll say it that way. Have it in by June 1st. But I am going to advise, Chantel is going to say, whatever deadline that is there, look at having your application submitted a quarter before. So if it's due in June, look in January, February submission. And the reason why I say that is I'll give you an example of this year. So as students are looking at applying for the fall, and I'll just use PhD as an option, uh, we start looking at funding for our PhD students in January. So we want to make sure that you are part of the maximum amount of funding that you can be considered for. So if you wait to June, it's not going to be the maximum amount. It may be, 80% or 50%, 60, 20, 10. So you want to make sure you're at that 100% for consideration for funding. That's just my recommendation. And then we also have some scholarships that are available too. But as I mentioned, it's about 8 to 9,000 graduate students. So do we have scholarships for all? No. So I would to recommend that you also look at your employer, see if they have some type of tuition reimbursement, if that's an option for you, and then also continue to look for private scholarships. But we do have some scholarships, so you should apply for those, or they are a lot of times you have to be nominated for. So for in terms of master students, we have the master scholarships, so where that's about for 4 credit hours in the fall and the winter. And then we have the graduate professional scholarship, which is available to master students and PhD students. Then we have our fellowships that are specifically for our doctoral candidates. So you have the Rumble, the Dean's Diversity, the KCP or the King Chavez Park Scholarship, where you apply directly to the graduate school, and then summer dissertation. In terms of fellowships, most of them are going to be offered in terms of a research assistantship, a graduate teaching assistantship, or they're usually merit based or something to that effect. So those are things to consider for that. However, there is a really, really great thing that you all could take advantage of as an undergraduate student. which is called A grade. A grade is basically like this accelerated master's program. So, what you can do right now is designate 16 credits of your undergraduate work towards graduate school at the undergraduate fee. So, I mentioned before about a master's degree ranges from 32 to 36 credit. You'd be halfway done with a master's degree when you graduate. The other reason why I say you should consider that is that the graduate school itself, we have scholarships that are designated for A grade students. So if you graduate from undergrad, you did A grade then, and then you decide to go to the graduate school, we have scholarships also available for you. So you could pay a really small amount or a nominal fee for your master's degree. So I would say definitely consider it because at the end of the day, you're going to take those 16 credits anyway. Why not designate them as graduate school coursework? And I'd say two things. One, you finish that master's degree really quickly, or even if you decided not to attend Wayne, you'd have on your transcript something to demonstrate that you can do work at the graduate level for another institution. So I want you to absolutely come to Wayne State. I want to talk a little bit about the innovation that we are doing on our campus. You all go here so you get to see it, but I'll just mention it. You know, the Hillberry Gateway Performance Complex is going up where the Hillberry is. The iBio, which is doing great works, especially when it started to talk about the health disparities when we were, as we've been dealing with this pandemic. And then lastly, the Center for Advanced Mobility, we're leading the way in autonomous cars, vehicles, and connectivity and such. So those are just things that is on the horizon. So in summary, if I wanted to tell you why you should choose Wayne State, we're an institution where graduate education is available for all who want to receive it. We have some fantastic research that we're doing here. We're centered in an urban community. Our students are amazing. They're change agents, they're persistent, they're resilient, they're excellent. And lastly, your graduate work will impact the Detroit community and the world. So if you're looking to do any of those things, I highly recommend you consider Wayne State for your graduate education. So I want to give and open it up for you all to have an opportunity to ask me any question. This is just some contact information here if you want to reach out to our admissions office or the PhD students. And then if you want to reach out to me as well, I can drop my information in the chat. So I'm going to stop sharing and open it up for any questions that you all may have for me. And hopefully I covered everything that you're looking for, Amber. Any questions?
I have a question.
More about, go ahead, Kamara.
Okay, so my name is Kamara, and I'm a senior.
All right.
I'm a way back student. And I just have a question about the A grade. So you said you could take 16 credits undergrad. So I have actually two questions. So those classes would cost undergrad tuition prices?
Correct.
Okay. And then so you might take those classes, but there still might be a possibility that you might not be accepted in the program. Is that possible?
That is possible.
Okay.
But I hope that's not, I hope that won't be the case. That is possible. I would say that if I had a percentage and I don't have a percentage in front of me, that would probably be like a 1%. Most of the students who are enrolled in that, there is a GPA requirement to enroll in A grade in general. It varies by school. So just keep that in mind. But I would probably say 1% of students probably aren't admitted. The other piece to this, that's another advantage. Let's say you want to go ahead and just start working or go into your field. You have some grace period. So if you did A grade, you could, be away for about 3 to 5 years and then come back and still take advantage of this as long as you did it while you were in undergrad.
Okay, so as long as you don't graduate and you stay undergrad, you can do the A grade.
So let me clarify that.
Okay.
What I was saying is once you graduate, you still have about 3 to 5 years to still take advantage of A grade,
Okay,
if that
that
makes
sounds
sense.
really good. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and I just have one more question about the A grade. So is there so where would the criteria for A grade be found?
Yeah, you can go on our website to, I should pull it up. You can go on our website and you can just do A grade and you'll see all of the schools. There are 5 schools that are participating. So college of education, business school, engineering, um, CFPCA. So that's good, in class. So if you're in any of those schools, you'd be eligible for A grade.
Thank you.
And then I also want to add, as seniors, it's actually has a different name, but it's the same program. It's called Senior Rule. So basically, let's say, for instance, you have one class left, or maybe 2 classes. You can fill up the rest of your schedule up to 16 credits with graduate work. So it's the same process that you be have if you were 8th grade.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yes.
Jonathan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll do Jonathan, then Charmaine, because I saw your hand was raised. But if you don't have a question,
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Jonathan, you muted yourself.
Yeah.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. My phone was getting in the way. Do you know of any programs for Wayne State alumni, undergrad alumni, for getting to the graduate program?
So, I mean, as an alum, you can definitely apply. The other good thing about that is your like application fee will be waived. So it's kind of what your interest is. So what are you interested in?
Well, I'm actually thinking about education,
Okay,
but I haven't
education.
decided yet.
Okay, so I'm gonna get personal and tell you a little bit about my story. I worked in admissions for many years, and I always thought I would do higher education. When I came to Wayne State, I had an opportunity to kind of look at everything. And I end up landing with an MBA. And I'm not trying to deter you from education, but what I am going to say is think about what you ultimately want to do, and
Sure.
then we can kind of put you to where you want to be. Because it may be education, or it could be another, another college, or another school within the university that may better suit what your actual end goal is.
Thank you.
Did that help you with your question?
Yeah, oh, absolutely does. Because my initial thought was higher education, but and MBA as a secondary, because my undergrad is in information systems management.
Okay.
So
Okay.
just want to kind of cross disciplines a little bit there.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is the graduate school is working on a lot of interdisciplinary approaches. So there are some um, experience where you can take courses across schools and some relationships that are already developed. So I mean, right now you're saying higher, but maybe it's the School of Information Systems. I don't know. So we need to just try to explore what you might have an interest in, and we can kind of
Sure.
lead you in that direction. Feel free. Like I said, I'm gonna drop my info in the chat, and we could set up some time to talk and chat about that. I know,
Thank
Charmaine,
you.
did you have a question as well?
I do have a question. So I'm a senior, I have about 2 classes left, and I was interested in doing the PharmD program. However, I see that there are some classes that I need to take as prereqs for that program. And being a psych major right now, a lot of them don't suffice. So how would that work? I would have to just take those as undergraduate prereqs, or would that be counted towards my graduate degree?
Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, depending on the program, we consider it like what we call post-bac coursework. And some programs, and I'm not sure off the top of my head if PharmD already has some post-bac, a program that you can enroll in to participate with that. I would highly recommend you check to see if they have something already in place so that you can get those prereqs taken care of. And if you can, that will help you be able to just go ahead and apply. If not, just look at it as kind of post-bac work. And I'll also look at to see if it's work that you have to do here. I know we're recording, so I'm just
I
gonna say,
know, I know where you're going. You don't have to say it.
If you can take it
had
out of
to
community college, take it out of community college.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Absolutely.
I'm
you
paying
know,
out of
but
pocket. So
I'm
I was
trying to
like,
make sure you maximize your money
yeah,
and make it make sense for you. So
okay, and just make sure that the credits transfer over.
right, but I would highly recommend most of all of our schools and colleges have an advisor or someone in place like myself that you can set up an appointment with. I know the Fire and D program does, so I would highly recommend setting up an appointment with them. Tell them your story, and then they can definitely make an outline of what you actually need to do and what your next steps will need to be.
So Charmaine, another good resource would be the Pre-Med and Health Science Center on campus. That's under my it's in my office. Um, and they can advise you on the PharmD requirements and give you some insight onto like how that program prefers university versus community college classes. Because depending on the class, if it's a science class, sometimes they want it from a university. If it's something else, it's really
Yeah,
intense. So you
yeah.
definitely want to talk to an expert so you make the right choice.
And then I will also add, sometimes you're looking at it and they may have some changes or made some modifications, and it may not be as intense as you may initially thought. And you might be able to start before you know it. Loretta, did you have a question too?
Yeah, I go by Lori.
Lori.
Hello everyone. Because I'm older and I've been out of school like forever.
Me too.
I've been like contemplating, wow, it'd be really cool to go back to school. Except since there's just a handful of you guys here, I'm actually paranoid because I'm test phobic. And so, what advice could you give me? Because if I did go through this, the only thing that really, I guess, sparks my interest would be either business, MBA, although I told I'm a natural for HR, even though I don't work in HR. I'm in export control, and that's kind of like supply chain, but I don't want anything to do with that. So,
Yeah. So here's the deal. I think your story is not unique. Most of us,
I know
well, I
I
would
need
say
a
a
group of
lot of
people
us
to
have.
hold my hand. What can you give me? What how do you work
Right.
with somebody like me?
So believe it or not, I was out of school many, many years before I came back, and I probably had the same kind of thought as you. It was like, I don't want to take the GRE, I don't want to take the GMAT. I was trying to say I was terrified about it.
I
Uh,
don't have to take that though because
good for you.
my GPA is good.
Right, right. And so it was just a lot of different things that had me like just really nervous about the process. I would say just go through the process because we are doing all the self talk. And by the time I went to see an advisor in the business school, I had a different, I was an engineering major, so I didn't know how many of my credits would transfer. She was like, oh, you have this, you have this, you want to start spring, summer. I was like, what? So a lot of times we are really taking ourselves out the game, and you should just
That's
kind of
true.
go for it. So I would say, even as the other thing, as a current student, as a current MBA student, I can talk for that specifically. The network of students is amazing. Like, we're all in it to help each other succeed. Uh, it's nothing uncommon to I get notes and study groups and really help each other through the process. Because at grad school, you can't get a C. Like, C is failing. So we all have to have this really high rigor, high academic. So we all understand each other's struggle in this. So we want to make sure that we're all helping each other. So you wouldn't have to worry about having any challenges. The professors have been awesome. So I've been able to talk to them. I work full time, also own a business. So they're very understanding. I haven't had any situation where I felt like, this is just the worst decision. It's probably been one of the best decisions. I've really been enjoying my graduate education. So it's something you can do. You can achieve it. If you've been away, if you work, you can also, if you have little people around, you can still do it. I will say it is definitely another level of study. So I always talk about self-care as you're going through this graduate experience. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because as a graduate student, you could study 7 days a week. I'll be very honest with that. But you need to definitely have a day where you just unplug. And I do that on Fridays. Friday is my not studying day. That's my date night with my boyfriend. So that's my day to do that. So make sure that you are taking care of yourself, because you can burn out. It's a lot of work, but it's definitely rewarding. You can do it. It's achievable. I'll graduate next year and I'm just like, wow, this flew by before I knew it. So you can do it. And my support has been fantastic. So you can do it.
Thank you.
Come join us while I'm here.
I would also say that graduate work is a lot different than undergraduate work, just the classes themselves. And so there's not as many like exams to take. You're not like prepping for exams. So in that, a lot more papers and projects. So in that sense, you're a little more in control of the course, I guess, and how you can adapt to it. And I'd also say it's a lot more tailored to the skills that you probably already, mastered being a professional, right? So it's not so much like memorizing and spitting it back out.
Right.
So I think that, which can happen at the undergraduate level, not all the time, but sometimes. So at the graduate level, I think you're gonna do better because you can pull on those professional skills, and you're also going to be a lot more interested in the coursework because it's things you've already done and you can see applied in the workplace. So
Right.
I think most people enjoy the graduate school experience more than they did undergrad.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely you've had more wisdom. You've lived. So it helps a lot at this level. Are there any other questions? And they can be whatever. Is it Jamie?
Yes, I have a question. I have two questions.
Okay.
My first one is about funding for grad school.
Mhm.
And my second question is the A grade the only accelerated program?
So yeah, right now A grade is our only accelerated program. Again, it'll go in either, if you're at 90 credits junior status, it's going to be called A grade. If you're at senior status, it's senior rule, but same concept for that. In terms of funding, um, I'd say get as creative and definitely still do the private scholarship. Like I work for Wayne State, so working for Wayne State, you have the luxury of them also paying for some coursework along the way. I still apply for scholarship. So just don't stop it. Be very diligent about it. There are some options available to you out there. And then I also want to just add something else that I know wasn't a question, but something that I will say do as well. Uh, Take advantage of your graduate student time. So join some student organizations. If you didn't study abroad before, do it this time. Do all those other things that you may have, didn't have an opportunity to do before. Take advantage of it, because you're still a student. So in some ways, you're still kind of cute to people, but right now, because after that, you're just an adult and it is what it is. But so make sure you maximize that. I would say as a student, and then as someone who's been a part of a student organization, I've had chance to go to conferences that were paid for because of who I was as a student in a student organization and things like that. So really maximize your experience while you're there, because it'll be over before you know it too. Did
Thank
I
you.
answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Mhm. Okay. Are there any other questions?
One thing I wanted to add, I think, as we're adult learners coming back, I like the idea of getting involved, and I appreciate that you mentioned that, because I think as adults sometimes we count that out like, oh, we're too old for that. I also want to share, I worked with, I advised a student, she was in a grad program. She had like 3 kids under 5, and she found a way. She studied abroad for a summer with like 3 kids. Now, I think it's brilliant because she got a summer away from kids for like 3 kids. Like, that's pretty awesome. But she found out a way to make it work. So if that's something that's important to you, there's a lot of different options. Like with like study abroad, there's, week-long things or semester long or year-long things. So, um, knowing what you're interested in is really helpful because there's always an adaptive way to make it work.
Yeah, and I'd say think about where you actually want to go. So I always ask as a recruiter, I'm always like, so what do you ultimately want to do? Because there are micro internships, that you can take advantage of. So, and some of them are even paid. And if you have work experience, you can really take advantage of those and thinking about also where you want to be, especially if you working full time, you can say, well, I'd like to be in this department over here. So maybe now I can start getting some experience in those areas. So really, really start thinking about what you want to do or at least what you might want to explore while you're there. And you can kind of take advantage of those opportunities too. Any other questions that you all may have? And I'm going to throw my information, like I said, in the chat. And if you feel like you want to reach out to me, feel free to do that.
So, would you be the best contact if someone just wants to talk about what program to apply to? Or are there other resources to explore too?
Yeah, I mean, we can start with the initial because I can kind of help navigate where you may want to end up landing. But you can always reach out to the departments too. They all have someone I would say is the equivalent of me in their area too that can speak to you as well. So, but I'm all about connecting people to the right person. So if it's not me, we're gonna find out where you need to go and where you could be. And I also want to give an example of another student who's currently at Wayne State, just so you can kind of see, like, think about where you ultimately want to be. And I keep pushing that. Is I have a student who he's from out of state, and he to do his research around patient advocacy. And he had a friend who was in a traumatic car accident, but she didn't have any family, no siblings, partner, husband, wife, whatever that may be, around her to be able to advocate on her behalf. So he said we watched what her wishes were not be granted by her care. So that's what he wanted to do his research on. So if you're thinking about, oh, okay, where do you think he may do? Where do you think, what college do you think he's doing that research? And I'm just going to ask you, you can throw it out there. Anybody you want to guess?
Is it law?
No. And that's a good grade, I guess. And I thank you for doing that. He's actually doing his research in the College of in English. So it's rhetoric and theory. So there's an advisor, they matched it up. So what I really want you to think about is, what do you want to do? Who will help you do that? And it may not be the traditional way of how you thought about it. That's why I was like, I was like, higher ed, I know I'm going to do that. Can I? And as I talk to people about higher ed, they're like, oh, now you could probably be a dean because now you have an MBA, so you understand finances. So if you go into admissions or enrollment or any of these other places, it can open up a different kind of perspective to you. So think about where you ultimately want to go and who can help you or what area might be able to help you to get there. So that's what I want you to really start thinking about. All right, any other questions?
I just want to say I'm doing what I want to do, but I didn't know I wanted to do this when I started at Wayne in 2009. So I just kind of want to maybe enhance what I do because I'm closer to retirement than all you guys. So that's kind of what I don't know. So maybe I need to come talk to somebody just to get ideas.
Yeah, I think that you're right on the track. That's what most students are going to graduate school for. They're either trying to move up in their current space,
Mhm.
or they are switching careers, or they have a whole new passion. So you're right in line with why people go to graduate school in general. So I would say don't be nervous about it. You're doing what you want. And sometimes, yeah, hearing people say, well, you might be a good HR person, or you might be this, you can listen, but at the end of the day, it's really going to be about what your passion is, because you have to do the work. And it's going to be you staying up at night doing whatever you may need to do. So really think about what your passions are. But I say be open, because they may see something in you that you may not
Right,
see in yourself.
right. And I don't want to jump into anything, so I'm just want to gather information today and then take my time to research it, even if it's 6 months, a year from now. I want to just know what I'm doing and be totally like mentally ready.
Yeah, and I mean that's why I do what I do, because I know it's a huge financial commitment. I know it's a huge time commitment. It involves, if sometimes more than just yourself, if you have family or etc. So I want to make sure you're as informed as possible about this. This is going to take some time. It's going to be, but it's going to be an amazing experience. And I would say at Wayne State specifically, it's the kind of environment that you'll need to support those who are working, those who are have some apprehension or anything to that matter. The environment is perfect for you to be a part and be successful.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Mhm.
I know you're here to advocate for Wayne State, but part of my position, I always tell students I'm here to advocate for them, even if it's not at Wayne State. And
Absolutely.
I'm yeah, it sounds like you have the same mentality. So if if students are maybe thinking about other schools, maybe Wayne State doesn't really offer what they're looking for. What are some kind of tips you would give students if they're thinking about other schools? Like, what are some things they should look for or consider, or red
Yeah,
flags?
yeah, absolutely. I'm all about land where you need to land, wherever it makes sense for you. For me, as I've gotten older, financial. I mean, I don't want you to just chase a name or anything to that extent. It needs to make financial sense for you, because it's can be a huge financial commitment. And then second, I would say think about what that student kind of environment looks like. Are the students supportive? I know that Wayne State is a commuter school, I would say per se. Um, but are the students who commute here, are they staying after? Is there some networking going on? Are there some opportunities for you to have some relationships? Because the thing about it is, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and then you're out of here. So it's about what happens after here. You can of course look at those stats if you want to about the state of Michigan, like if you're staying regionally or something to that effect. You can look at that and see like, oh, okay, who are the alums and where are they going, where do they work? So you can do some of those things, but I think it needs to really go back to the personal aspect and what feels comfortable for you. And for me, it's, can I get the help that I need to be successful? And can I call on some people that are going to genuinely help me, even if it means to tell me to leave? Like I want them to genuinely help me and tell me and put me on the right path. And I can say, and I'm not just saying it because I'm a recruiter here, I can say that has been my experience here. Um, and I didn't go here for undergrad. I went to Michigan State for undergrad. And I still my school go there, no way. But I would say that I definitely really, really love the network and the people in the classroom with me right now. And that's a good question, because I think at the end of the day, it has to make sense for you, make sense for you.
I just want to say thank you because this has been a very informative seminar.
Oh, you're quite welcome. I mean, like I said, I know I was that person. Like, I can't do it. I don't know. It was a few times where I was supposed to do it and I didn't do it. And I was looking at, a variety of different institutions. I'm even, as I'm finishing my MBA, it's like, oh, would you do the PhD? And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. And so I can understand that. Or do I do an EDD and things to that effect? So I get it. I was you. I am you. And just look at me now. I'm telling you, I'm gonna graduate next year. I literally have 4 classes. If I wanted to, I could do 2 in the summer, 2 in the fall, and I'm done. But I'm like, I don't want to do in the summer this year. Just take a break. So it'll be next winter, but it'll be here before you know it. And so you can do it. The main thing is just go ahead, get those transcripts together, make those appointments with the advisor. Think about how financially this will work for you, like if it's tuition reimbursement, if it's private scholarships. If you are going to do student loans, of course, that's still something that's available to you as well. And I'm sure you all are learning about that process where you are in the maximums and the minimums of that. So make sure you talk with financial aid. I can say, as someone who hadn't done financial aid in a long time, I still needed help. So don't be afraid to talk to the financial aid office about what that process and what it looks like, especially as a graduate student. And just, you can do it. Breathe about it. It's something you can do. I see people every day. I was you. You can definitely do this. Amber was you. You can do this.
I have a dumb question because
Oh, it's not dumb.
yeah, it is. So the official transcript, I went to Madonna University.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to Madonna and they send it to you. It's not like I would get it in an envelope and bring it to you.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is you can just order it online and Madonna will ship it over to us. So
Okay.
you'll
Okay.
just order that
See, that's how old
online.
I am.
No, that's a lot of students want to do that. And like, I'm still confused because sometimes it seems like it is okay to bring it over, but I would say never. The
Yeah.
point is that you don't want the universities don't want you to ever have touched it. There's no opportunity for you to tamper with it. So if you
Right.
can get it, they need a direct from that original university. And right now they're doing it all digitally too, so it's a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, if you guys, I'll hang around for a little bit, but I want to make everybody stay. If you don't have any questions, I'm available. I like I said, I get it. It's a huge decision. It's a huge commitment. It seems scary, but once you're in the classes, you're like, I could do this. So you can do this, and I want you to know that you can definitely do it. So, and you're welcome.
Can you tell us a little bit more about like the GMAT and GRE, and because especially right now, you said most of them seem to be moving to like test optional.
Yeah, a lot of we're in the process of trying to get Wayne State to just kind of do away with it, but that's a journey in itself. There are a few colleges that still require some test scores, but for the most part, you can start the process for a lot of the schools without your test score and let them tell you if they want that test score from you. So I know Lori mentioned she doesn't need it. There could be reasons why you don't. Like, you may have enough work experience where you don't need that test score. So definitely don't let that be the barrier for applying. Put your app in, let them tell you if they're going to need a test score or not from you. Did that answer your question?
Absolutely.
I think you need to do a crash course on what it feels like to be in grad school. like a PowerPoint and mini assignment where I could write a paper and there's no test scores, and just so I know what it feels like. That's what you need.
Right. I mean, I guess if I were to say like a mini of what my experience has been, again, it is at the MBA level, so I can't necessarily speak for any other school or college, but of course you're going to have some reading. That is definitely something that you'll be doing. Uh, there will be a lot of presentations, so as business students, you're going to be in front of people. So presenting and doing that, a lot of group activity, group projects that are due, papers that you have to write. And as a graduate student, you have access to all those resources too. So I go to the writing center. I may have them look over a paper for me. You can utilize that. The Academic Success Center. I have been to the tips and things like that because I was like, I don't remember how to read a textbook. So help me do those things. And so there are a lot of resources here to help you with that. If you're working on a dissertation, the Office of Teaching and Learning, they can help you with writing seminars and such like that. So we don't want you not to be successful. We need alumni. So we're going to try to put all those pieces together to make sure that you can be successful. So, but the other thing is you have to put your hand up and be unafraid to tell us what you need. And sometimes there are things that, they don't recognize you need. Like I'm pushing for something that I'm hoping in the next year, there's some work about it, but a lot of students here, we work full time and the library closes at 5. The undergraduate library is open 24 hours, Monday through Thursday, but on Friday it closes at 5. So if I work all week and I want to say I want to study, where can I go to, like, if I can get the kids away or this or that, how can I maximize that? So I want them to really designate a graduate school space where we can study a little later in the day. So if it's 3 a.m, let me have that opportunity to do that. So we're pushing for it.
I do have one more question.
No, yeah, this is what it's for.
As an undergraduate student, I think so the scariest thing for me is like the paper writing thing that you did. So as an undergraduate student, the longest paper I've ever written was like 11 pages. So are they a lot longer in graduate school? I'll just ask the question.
Okay, I would say today in my graduate, I did have last year a 24-page paper that I needed to write. Is that typical? I won't say that is typical, but I did have one. And you can get it done. I was terrified, like, I'm not going to be able to get this paper done. But I will say, as an adult, you know how to manage your time a little better and you know yourself a little better. So for me, I know it takes me a second to get it going. So I went to the writing center first. I was like, here's an outline. This is what I think I can do. I think I might be able to get 2 pages out of this and 2. So I had to be very specific and give myself targeted times to try to have this done because I wanted them to review my paper before I actually submitted it as well. And so I know for me, in certain things, procrastination, that if that's what you do, it's out the window as a graduate student because you just don't have the luxury of the time to do that because I was like, my calendar is accounted for. Like I have to write on there when I can call people, when I can do dinner, like because you're going to have to make it work for you and what works best for you. If you can crank out and write 10 pages in one sitting, great. I know that's not necessarily my skill set, so I have to kind of organize myself to make it work. So even if it was something of 20 pages or something to that effect, it's not unsurmountable. You just have to kind of start managing it. You'll know when it's due. So it's not like it's going to be due overnight. You have your syllabus and you're going to say, okay, it's due in May. So what do I need to do to get to that? So you'll be able to do it. I did it. I never thought I could. So you definitely can do it. And I got an A out that class.
I think it's good to have different perspective on it too. So when I was doing my master's degree, I did it in higher education, and some of my classes, your paper would be your only grade, right? So you have one paper due at the end. It's a 20-page paper, and that can seem scary, but think of it as you don't have all these 5-page papers along the way. Like you can just spend all that time working on your 20-page paper, and you have a lot more support in that because your faculty members, they're a lot more interested in what you're doing. And you're more interested in your coursework too. So it's not like you're writing 20 pages on medieval literature in, unless that's, you know, what your
Right.
master's degree is.
Exactly.
Right. So like I wanted to research disability services in community colleges. So I had the opportunity to like go out and meet with different people who work in that field, interview them, look up scholarly articles. So it was a lot more innovative and a lot more exciting for me. Now, maybe that's not interesting to you, but I'm sure there are some things that are exciting, interesting to you. So you
Yeah.
want to do that work and you can see how it applies. And it's a lot more, it's not valuable. It makes it's a better use of your time, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. And even with my 24-page paper, like half of the semester was really dedicated towards working towards that. So it's not that we didn't do other work, but it was kind of giving us time to really prepare for that paper. So it's manageable. You can do it. I'm not saying it just for lip service because it's true. I think Amber's really hitting on something. It's work you'll be interested in. You know, like if you are an entrepreneur, you're going to do your work on entrepreneurship because that's something you want to do. If you're interested in, I mean, it's Women's History Month, so you're interested in women's issues, that will likely be what you're going to do your work on. So it'll be something that you're interested in. You can meet some interesting people along the way as you navigate the paper, or find these great sources and research as you do those things as well. So you can do it. Don't be nervous. You can do it.
Thank you.
I think we might be close to time. Are there any other, I could take a couple questions before we conclude. Any of those pressing things that I make sure there's anything here.
Hi, my name is Lisa. I'm kind of like, I've written a lot of long papers as an undergrad when I was in school, so that's not something I'm really concerned about. But now I'm older and I do have a disability, so I'm kind of concerned about not necessarily writing the papers and getting them out, but because I can't type, I mean, like I used to, you know what I'm saying? Things are slower, and I'm kind of concerned, like coming back, like in my situation, like that affecting, it's not that I don't think I can do it, but just that affecting my speed or my rate of getting things done now that things, health wise are different than what they were when I was first at Wayne State. And I was a young filly, healthy.
Well, I think the great thing is we do have disability services here. So you can definitely take advantage of those. And you can also talk with your professor, and they make accommodations for different things. So I don't think that that'll be a concern at all for you, because other students are able to achieve it as well. So we have the resources here to make sure that you'll be successful. So don't let that be a concern for you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome.
I just put the link to SDS, the Student Disability Services, in the chat. And they have some examples of accommodations that they can provide. And, I feel like I'm always hearing more information, updates on the cool new technologies that they're using. So there's definitely something that can work for you, for sure.
Yeah. That won't be a barrier for you. Any other pressing question before we adjourn? Well, if there aren't, again, I'm here as a resource. My name is Chantel Cave. I did throw my information in the chat, but I am not the only person at the graduate school that's going to help you as well. It's a whole staff that's here to help you get here. And we have a new dean, and I think she's absolutely fantastic. Not that my old dean wasn't, but she is absolutely fantastic because she's really about graduate education for all and what we have to do to make that happen. So if you want to be in graduate school, she's going to make sure that that's what happens for you. And I'm going to help you as well. So thank you. If you need me to come back at any time, I'll definitely do that. And see you guys hopefully on campus or in this virtual world as a graduate student.
Thank you, Chantel. And thank you everyone for coming. This has been a really great session. I learned a lot. I have so many questions